Creating a solid project plan is one of the most important steps to making sure your project gets completed on time and on budget. In this video, TeamGantt's Director of Education, Brett Harned, will teach you how to create a solid project plan in 5 simple steps. Brett brings over 20 years of project management experience to the table. As an agency PM, he's managed big website redesign projects for companies like Zappos, MTV, and Harvard University, as well as many more. He's also worked as a digital project management consultant and coach focused on solving issues that are important to organizations who want to produce quality digital projects in harmony.
Project plans come in many different shapes, sizes, and formats. In fact, there is no single way to create a plan. But no matter the format, a good project plan will represent the confluence of many factors, including your scope, project requirements, your team and your stakeholders and their expertise, the research that you've done, your process history and knowledge, and a ton of input from your team and your clients as well. It can feel like a lot, but in this short tutorial, I'm going to explain how you can pull together a plan with a pretty simple process and of course with TeamGantt. But first, maybe we should talk about what a good plan will do. Well, the way that I see it, any good plan is going to communicate major deliverables, show the process by which you're going to provide those deliverables, communicate timing and deadlines around those deliverables, and of course, an end date for your project. It'll also show dependencies, team roles, and assignments. Now that might sound like a lot, but trust me, it's a completely manageable process, and it's easy to accomplish if you take your time, think through all of the aspects of your project, and work with your team and your clients to finalize a solid plan. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to do is a little bit of research and pre-planning. Now, this might sound like a surprise to you, but a solid plan is created after you've done your research, or even just a little bit of pre-work to understand the project at hand. This can be done through a review of your project scope and requirements, through a kickoff meeting, a review of a charter, some stakeholder interviews, or really any kind of research that you're going to do as a team to determine what you'll deliver and how you'll deliver it. In my experience as an agency project manager, I have to say we would take on really big client projects. And in that situation, I would really never know too much about the organization or even the impetus for the project. That meant I really didn't know about goals either. So every project started with stakeholder interviews just to uncover as much project detail as possible. And that could be anything from goals to specific requirements, even to internal politics or institutional knowledge. Now, stakeholders are not usually done by a PM alone, but they can include so much information that will honestly inform the plan and how you'll manage a project. So my rule of thumb has always been to attend stakeholder interviews if they're a part of my projects. Now, if you can attend, you can definitely suggest any questions to be included so that you can find out more things about goals, team dynamics, and even potential issues or risks that might pop up on your projects. You're also going to want to dig a little bit deeper about project ownership and the decision-making process. Those are the kinds of things that pop up midstream in your project when you haven't done your research and will definitely throw your plan off track. Simple stakeholder questions regarding project investment, interest, experience, and savvy will also help you to understand how much your clients will need to be managed or even handheld through a process. It'll also tell you how much education you need to do with your client, and all of this will help you to build a plan that accounts for the proper amount of time. While you're in stakeholder interviews, you're also going to want to get any scheduling conflicts or potential outages out in the open, because those are things that will also ruin your plan. So talk about key dates, potential outages, or any desire for larger meetings where your team might have to be traveling or be out of the office for a day. But I'm also thinking about your clients, right? Are they going to be at big corporate meetings or on holidays or anything like that that will take them away from the project? Why, you might ask? Well, that stuff means that if they're scheduled in a plan and they're not around, you're going to have a delay, and you don't want that in your plan. Next, you're going to want to ask about similar projects and the rate of success that your clients have seen on those projects. Essentially, you want to know if they've used similar processes or have done similar projects, because if they have and they've learned from mistakes, you will want to try to apply some of those findings to your plan so you don't make those mistakes again. Another thing here, you're going to want to talk about how you'll communicate on the project with your clients. Think about it. A plan is great, but how will you communicate about the details in that plan in order to keep the plan moving? My suggestion is to use TeamGantt discussions to communicate about project details on the task level, and then a weekly status report to discuss progress, action items, and even potential risks that could pop up. Hey, really quick, check out our YouTube channel and Education Hub for more videos, information, and templates on those topics specifically. Okay, so all of these things are going to impact your plan, right? But you can't forget about your team because they'll impact your plan as well. Knowing your team is important on a number of levels, but most importantly, knowing who's responsible for what and when is going to be critical to your plan. You're going to want to figure out what the expertise is on your team, what team members' interests are, and really who is going to be responsible for what. But also, talk to your team about collaboration and see if your team can get together at any points in the project to help produce deliverables together. That, of course, will then lead you to talk about timing and other project assignments so that you can make sure workloads are balanced. You definitely want to consider other projects that people are working on because those assignments can get in the way of the project that you're planning. So the more pre-planning that you can do to rule those things out, the better off that you'll be long-term and the more realistic your plan will be. So your next step is going to be to draft your plan. Most people will jump right into TeamGantt, but my process is always to just start rough. So rather than jumping right into TeamGantt, I'll actually sit down with a notebook or maybe at a whiteboard and just start thinking about what the general process for the project will be. So I'll think, with the team that I'm working with, are we running an agile project? Are we running waterfall? Is there some kind of hybrid process? I'll start thinking high level about how our projects run, what people are used to, what our norms are, and what we have to deliver, and how that might work with the scope, the clients, the team, the deadlines, or any other constraints that might be put upon us in our scope. So from there, I'll start to rough out what the deliverables will be. For instance, if I'm working on a web design project, I'll probably sort out if there's a sitemap, if there are wireframes, if there are designs or code that we need to do. And then I think about the sign-offs and the approvals related to that, meaning at what points in the project will I require someone to approve and finalize a deliverable so that we can consider it complete and move on to the next step. Once I have a rough idea of how the phases of the project might play out, I'll think about deliverables and roles and look at our workload plans. That gives me a general understanding of who's going to be available and how the team should be staffed to the project overall. So what I'm thinking is, if a team member is already working on a couple of other projects, how are those projects playing together and what's that team member's availability going to be on this new project or even across all projects? So then I'll look at deadlines. Of course, every project has a deadline, and you'll probably want to back all of your work into that deadline. But it's smart to ask a couple of questions about that deadline before you actually create a plan to meet it, especially if it's tight. So for example, if there's an event or something that your client needs your website to be launched for or a deliverable done by, you'll want to know about those things so that you can really stay on top of progress to meet those hard deadlines, or maybe even work a little bit of wiggle room into your plan. Okay, so I want to take a second here and talk about something very important that a lot of PMs miss. Be sure to set very clear expectations about client feedback and timing on all of your deliverables. This is a place where many projects get stalled because clients don't think they have to stick to deadlines. But maybe that's because your plan hasn't set the proper expectation with a task. So simply ask, how much time do you need to review and approve our deliverables? When you get that answer from your clients, work the feedback cycle into your plan and assign proper tasks to your clients. That way, they'll know what's planned, how they're involved, and honestly, what they're on the hook for. So once you've worked out some of these ideas and details in your sketch, you can review your sketch with your team. I like to bring that idea or even just a quick sketch of a plan into a planning meeting with my team rather than showing them what seems to be a fully complete project plan in TeamGantt. Because I think this approach can go a long way in setting the tone for a collaborative project environment, and I prefer that. I also tend to think that if you can engage your team on how they want to approach their work within the overall process of the project, you'll gain accountability within the team. You'll also better understand how everything fits together as a team because you've taken the time to talk about the plan rather than just reading it. So if this all sounds good to you, schedule a 30-minute planning meeting to talk through your ideas and then take notes on points where your team might want to change the path of the project. And be sure that you're talking through deliverables and tasks, roles and ownership, as well as timing. This is also a great time to talk about workflow and assignments, and honestly, even just to build a little bit of trust and understanding within the team. More than anything though, as a PM or a team lead, you need to be adaptable and flexible about how the team wants to work. But remember, it's your job to keep that work within the boundaries of your project's scope, goals, and deadlines. I'll say that, when you get a team together talking about process like this, things tend to become more efficient on the project, but it'll be your job to keep an eye on that and also to keep things realistic. At the end of the day, what you want to do is create a project process that works for everyone, not just for you.
At TeamGantt, we want to teach and empower project managers of all types, from the seasoned PM vet who's managed every kind of team and project under the sun, to the rookie who didn't even realize they were a project manager until last Tuesday. No matter how much experience you have, you can always learn. That's why we've put together free guides to project management and project planning, templates, live and pre-recorded classes, and even more videos on project management. Go to teamgantt.com/resources to view all of our project management and TeamGantt educational content. Now let's get back to planning.
Okay, so you've had that planning meeting, and your team completely changed your mind about a few things in your process. It's not really a bad thing. What you have to do next is formalize all of those ideas and process points in a project plan in TeamGantt. But before you jump in, I want you to think about creating your plan this way. Think about creating your plan as a story. That's right, your main goal is to write the story of how your project will go. And it's got to be a story that everyone will read and understand, whether they start in the beginning, pick it up in the middle, or just jump straight to the ending. That means that you need to make it clear and readable. And that can be tough when you're talking about a story that's like over 2 years long and is represented on a giant Gantt chart. No worries, you can do this. If I can, you can. Trust me. So the first thing that you should understand is that a plan is made up of groups of tasks, and milestones. Think of your groups of tasks as chapters in a table of contents. Your tasks are the activities or events that happen in that chapter, and the milestones are the critical plot points. Now, one tip when you're writing those tasks and milestones, remember to avoid jargon or acronyms that someone outside of your team or clients might not understand. Write quick action statements like design homepage or install kitchen flooring. After all, you're talking about work that's being done and you really want to capture that here. Once you've got all of your tasks and milestones in your plan, you'll want to assign them so people can see very quickly who is responsible for what. And they can even receive updates from TeamGantt when their tasks are coming due. That's going to ensure accountability on your team, and that's awesome. So now some folks might be saying, hey, you didn't schedule any tasks before you assigned people. I don't get it. And to them I say, you're right, but that's what I'm going to do next. I actually like to have tasks entered and assignments in so I can keep an eye on the view availability tab in TeamGantt while I'm adding task estimates and scheduling on the Gantt. That way I can rest assured that I'm not overbooking my team. And if I am overbooking, I can make some quick schedule adjustments with a drag and drop and really avoid major issues. Okay, so a question I often get about tasks is, how much detail should I include? My advice is to keep it to a single action statement. If it's a big action statement like conduct stakeholder interviews, I'll use the checklist feature to list out smaller subtasks that don't really need to show up on the Gantt chart itself. And if I feel like that's a lot, or maybe if it's confusing, I'll use the notes feature as well in TeamGantt to clarify those tasks. So for instance, if I'm planning a presentation, I might want to make a note about what's going to be presented, or the intent of the meeting, how long the meeting might take, and then what the next steps after the meeting might be. Notes are really helpful when it comes to helping to communicate your project process or even parts of the process in tasks. Okay, at this point, you almost have a complete plan. In fact, many people will just stop here, and I say keep going. Next, I would actually call out dependencies in your plan. Essentially, you can add a visual cue to your Gantt chart that says, hey, this task cannot start until its predecessor is complete. That's going to help you to be sure that people understand the overall project process, and they also understand the order in which things need to be done on the project. After all, not all projects are as clear as we think, so any added clarification that you can add to your plan, the better you'll be able to keep things on track. Okay, so you're basically done with your plan draft, which is totally exciting. But the next step is going to be to confirm, present, and then confirm your plan again. Sounds a little bit redundant, maybe tricky, but it's super simple. So once you get your plan in a more formal format in TeamGantt, you're going to want to show that to your team, because chances are, once you move from that high-level discussion and ideas of what could happen into a formal plan that shows actual tasks and dates, things get more serious. And they might have even changed because you had to make the plan fit the deadline. Trust me, it happens all the time. I've gotten to the plan step and realized my team wanted 3 weeks that we didn't have. So I made updates, brought the real plan back to the team for review, and then we carried on. No one ever loves that scenario, but there's still time to adjust before you show the plan to your clients and set that first baseline. So at this point, you really want to confirm the overall process, deliverables, and dates with your team to make sure that they're totally on board. Be sure to clue them in on the tasks that they're assigned to, and make sure that those tasks aren't falling on dates where they'll be out of the office or they're responsible for some other work. Work through any updates that need to be made, and then take that plan to your clients. I would actually suggest adding your clients in TeamGantt so that they can receive task updates, but you can also send a link to the plan or export or present a PDF to them. Either way, you want to schedule a meeting so that you can walk them through the plan line by line. Remember, this is your opportunity to help your clients understand the overall process of the project, and also to show them how long it takes to get some of your work done. What I'm saying is that this is your chance not only to get them on board with the project and how it'll go down, but it's also a really great opportunity for you to educate your clients and have them understand your work and the level of effort it entails. In order to do that, you want to be sure to talk about your process at a high level. Run them through that table of contents, then dig into the chapters. Talk about the groups of tasks, and be sure to really clue them in on things that they'll be responsible for. Point out key deliverables and decision points in those milestones. Point out review times, teamwork times, dependencies on the project, and then holidays and time off that you've accounted for. Then double or even triple check with them about those holidays, timeout, or any kind of meeting schedule that they have, so that they understand their lack of attention to the plan could throw everything off, and you don't want that. Once that's done, you can confirm your plan. Sure, you might make a few changes after you've reviewed with your client, but at that point, you really do want to confirm it and lock it in and let them know that this is the plan we're going to use moving forward. From there, it's really just up to you to manage and update your plan. You'll have to remember that plans can change constantly. In fact, they should. I like to tell my clients that project plans are living, breathing documents. Things will change. We'll make progress, but deadlines could possibly be missed. People could be out sick for a week or two. Changes could happen with the process. New stakeholders could join the team. Honestly, anything can affect the way that a project goes down, and you'll be there to manage the plan and the team through that change so that you can deliver your project successfully and on time. Remember, you just have to adapt to change, document it, and communicate about it. When change does happen, make the proper updates to your plan, update your baseline, and communicate the changes right in TeamGantt using the discussion feature. And really, that's it. See, it's not so difficult to write a plan as long as you take a measured approach that accounts for your project's scope, goals, teams, and clients. Just break down the steps presented here, or even adapt this process to your projects, and you'll land on a plan that's realistic for your projects. Good luck.
That's it for this class. Do you have a question? Drop a comment on YouTube, and remember to like and subscribe so you get updates when we release new content. And if you want to dig deeper, start your free trial of TeamGantt, then check out the Guide to Project Planning in the TeamGantt Education Hub, or take one of our free live classes and you'll be planning in no time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.